Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quantum Leap Revisited, a show that we do once a week where we celebrate the classic Quantum Leap shows starring Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. This week, we're going to be talking about the episode Piano Man, and with me, as usual, I have a wonderful panel of gentlemen. First of all, I have the Script Doctor. Script Doctor has his own Patreon for teaching screenwriting because he's a veteran screenwriter. He also has his own show every Saturday at 7 p.m. on his channel Scripts. The Script Doctor, and the show is called Scripts on Saturdays. He goes over and evaluates screenplays that either now or at some point have been considered by big studios, and in some cases, even some of these scripts have been greenlit in recent times. So it's always a really interesting conversation with him and a guest there. And if you haven't checked it out yet, you should. How's it going, Script?
It's going great. I'm happy to be here tonight, especially for this episode.
Yep, and I'm happy also. And there's a few things that I thought of. Actually, I thought of both of you while watching this episode. So there's going to be a moment that it's definitely, I think we're going to have a moment where we really have an interesting discussion. And next, we also have, of course, Ro from the Sacrif Podcast. He is the co-founder of the Red 5 Network, which is a network of other podcasters. And in addition to that, his podcast about Star Wars and just science fiction and all this other stuff that he likes. You can find that on anywhere that there's podcasts like Amazon and Spotify and Apple and all that good stuff. And of course, he's also a broadcast news veteran. He also understands and knows a lot about the technical aspect of production behind the scenes. So he brings some good input there. And in general, he's just a pretty nice guy. How's it going, Ro?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I try to be. I just noticed that your lips are moving.
Yeah, my lips are moving.
When did that happen?
I don't know, but I hope your internet is okay. Script, did you hear him robot a little?
A little bit, yeah.
You know what? I've been streaming and recording all day, so maybe I'll pop out and I'll pop back in.
Okay.
Okay, there was like a weird robot, but you're with us in spirit. And as usual, we also have some great people in the chat, and I'm always happy to see so many people turn up and hang out with us. It's always a great time. And I think we have Ro back. Let's hope it works. What's up, Ro?
Check 1 2. Yeah, sorry about that.
Awesome. Now it sounds good. I was really worried. It was sounded strange.
Yeah.
But now we're back in business, and this week we have the episode Piano Man. It's the third season, 15th episode, and it's definitely an interesting one. I guess before we start, do you have any initial thoughts about it, either of you?
No. Well, I know it's inspired by Billy Joel, who's not my favorite musician out there. But I do like that it goes in a very different direction than what you expect. And I think that's what makes this fun, just to start with.
Yeah. I agree. And, it's also a setup where they let Scott Bakula show that he can sing and play piano and that good stuff. So,
and he wrote that song too. So.
Oh, wow. Which doesn't surprise me. I mean, he does know his music. And I mean, I really feel like they were very excited to let him sing there. They're like, hey, we need a few scenes where you're just sitting around here singing. He's like, sure.
Yeah. I feel like we've already seen Scott Bakula play and perform, and we already know that he's super multi-talented. So this one didn't surprise me as much as maybe some of the earlier ones, because obviously not knowing his range and finding out through watching the show really surprised me. So it was almost like, oh, here we are again sitting around playing the piano. So it wasn't like a big deal to me anymore.
You took it for granted at this point.
Yeah. And I initially thought, oh God, here comes another sappy, kind of love story type of story arc. And then the car blew up and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? But for me, it had like some nice peaks and valleys. I think I didn't enjoy it too much. It was kind of like a meh kind of episode, but we'll get into some of the details and some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I didn't like.
That's fair enough. I guess let's already start sharing the screen.
Sure. One fun fact I liked about this episode is that it takes place in the mid 80s, so it's the closest time to the present within the show that Sam has leapt into.
That's true. The other thing is, pretty close to where the episode starts, there's going to be something here that, I thought of Rhodes' plot hole, and I thought of you script of, whether it's a mistake or not. But we'll get to it pretty shortly. So let's dive in.
Sure.
Quickly, what year is what year is the actual Quantum Leap story take place?
I think 1997 script.
It's a little mixed because it's either some parts say it's 1995, other parts say it starts in 1999.
That's late.
It's somewhere in between at that point. They kind of talk about it in the 5th season, but it's disputed by some sizable portions of the Quantum Leap fandom. Like we all we know is that it's not necessarily, he doesn't necessarily leap in the 21st century, but he leaps really close is when the project starts.
So the show doesn't really actually say specifically the Quantum Leap program started at this particular time.
Well, no, they started the program in the 80s, but the leap didn't happen. That's when we don't know for sure exactly.
Oh, okay.
When the leap
All right.
happened. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I agree with you. I think that they changed it over time, and I don't know why I thought 1997. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you said it was 95 or 99, that would also somehow make sense in my mind. I don't know why I've always said to myself it's 97.
Well, 97 might have to do with a certain episode that happens in season 4.
Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that there's some episode that they've grounded that year, so I'm like, okay, it's this thing.
Yeah, I think I know what episode that might be, because I do know that there's a season 5 episode that talks about 1999, and yeah,
Right.
it kind of rewrites canon in it. So
right, there's some stuff that happens in 4th and 5th seasons, and some people may like it more, and some people like it less. Especially in the 5th season, it's when a lot of strange things happen, but it's okay. If we're going into this episode already, you can see the screen, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we have the intro that we all know and like. And this is, like we said last time, a relatively lengthy opener where he sees this feeling songs and a song, and this lady, wants him to play it. And he's kind of confused. He's trying to figure out where he's at and what he's doing. And then, the episode starts, the opening theme and all that good stuff. And then he's here. It's Piano Man. Did they say already what year? Okay, November 10th in 1985, yeah. And then he's singing the song. I mean, let's be honest, it would be very difficult for a guy that doesn't know the song, even with the sheet music, to immediately perform it so well. But
yeah.
You know what? If nothing else, at least Scott Bakula himself can really do it. So it adds to the believability of it just because he's him. If it was a guy that can't sing and can't play piano, then it would be less credible. But because it's actually him doing that, and like you just said, he actually wrote the song in real life.
Yeah, according to the trivia of the episode, he wrote and performed the song in real life. Obviously, they redid the piano stuff.
Right. I mean, I think he knows how to play piano. I don't know if he played it in the studio or not, but at the end of the day, he has the knowledge. He's able to play piano. He's able to write music. He's able to sing music. So he's not coming off as a phony. You may think Samuel Beckett, to pop in here and give such a performance. I know he knows physics and he's a multi-talented genius, but still, that would be a bit of a stretch even for him. But hey, we believe that he popped into the Don Quixote and did that thing.
And then the previous piano player who is blind, right? So we already have that.
Right. He was like doing concertos and stuff. I mean, I'm not saying it could be that as a genius that he's supposed to be, he also knows how to play piano, but I don't know. Assuming that he could just sit here and sing the song, bit much, but I'll let it slide. What did you think about that, Ro?
Yeah, I think again, Scott is a very talented actor, and I believed him. And I think they do these extended sequences really to obviously to feature his talent because it's an asset to the show.
Mhm.
Right.
But from my perspective, obviously having watched this every week, it's like, okay, not again. Okay, we know you're talented. Let's move on with the story. And that's I think that's a harsh statement. But yeah, I think I was bored when he played the piano. It was almost like, I know you're talented. Let's go.
No, what I will say is that he played it, and then he's in the bar and he played it, and then he's playing another song. I almost feel like they were trying to fill up the episode, and they're just like, why don't you just play more music and sing more songs
Right.
in this episode?
We'll give you
And-
7 minutes on the piano.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like you said, he's talented, but it's definitely something that I don't know. I wanted to say that I don't know if they could get away with it in a movie, but I just saw Joker 2 the other day, so obviously they can get away with it in a movie. And you know what? I prefer this thing of him actually sitting. He's the real guy that actually, it's part of the episode that he's actually sitting and playing these songs, whereas in Joker he's imagining it or whatever it is. But none of that matters. I don't want to dwell on that movie now. That's a completely different discussion. Let's go back to this one. So he's singing, and then as he's singing, this old flame of his comes in, and she's crying and weeping. And then, but I always like this stuff that he's confused. He doesn't even know why she's there. And she's talking to him like, oh, that's why you left. That's why this, that's why that. And he's just trying to figure it all out. What was her name? Remind me?
Excuse me. Her name was Lorraine. And that's
Lorraine.
played by Merida de Prima, who is George Newborn's wife.
Right. So this part is when he sees himself, and then they talk about their relationship and all that other stuff. And also, she's somewhat of a jinx, I guess. She like everything falls on the floor.
That was very annoying too. I mean,
Mhm.
her character to me was annoying. The actress was annoying. The jinx thing was annoying. I'm just gonna sit back and I'm gonna be real harsh with this episode because I really didn't like it that much.
That's fine. That's fair enough. But in any case,
I do like the reflection gag because it was a really nice addition to have an actor kind of come into the shot in the reverse, and then when they go to Sam, the actor's doing the same thing. So it was a really good reflective reflection sequence.
I'm trying to find it. Did I just pass it?
Forward.
Oh
Yeah, right in here. Yeah. So you see how the real actor's there, and then the bartender comes in and he's in front of the camera.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then they flip to Sam's scene, and then he's doing the same thing.
Yeah. That was pretty good, I guess.
Yeah. It's those little subtle things that, like, in your brain they make sense. You more like normal audiences wouldn't be able to tell specifically like why that shot sequence worked, but in your brain it kind of makes sense, so you let it go. But those are the cool things that I like noticing, especially on these shows.
Now, at this point, Al arrives. Remind me, it was late when I was watching. What does he say to him here?
Oh,
They can't. Is it?
They don't know
couldn't
who
find
he
his
is.
name, right?
Yeah. They say that he has no background. They don't really know who he is or what's going on.
No information on him.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess because he changed his name. And this is the
Right.
part where she calls her boyfriend, and she's like, she's at this bar.
What are those things on the wall?
What things? Oh, the telephones.
Payphones. Yeah.
Telephones, yeah. Those used to be popular. So at this point, he tells her to come home. Remind me, I don't know why I'm blanking on this.
So he's a little upset that she went to go see him. He thinks it's kind of like a waste of time for her to kind of make sure that this relationship is over with before the new guy starts a new life with them.
Right, because she wanted did she need a divorce paper from him or something?
No,
or was it-
she
No.
needed closure, and
Right.
the odd stuff here is that her new fiance encouraged her to do this, and now he's regretting it. And I think Nick is in the background.
Yeah, he wants to come
is?
in. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hey, going okay. I'm still on a job, so I'll be mostly silent, but I'll chime in from now and then. I wanted to say there's a plot hole here.
Mm.
There will be there is, but I don't know if we got to it yet.
Well, here's
is it
so
something
Al
that already
can't
happened?
figure out who he is, except
Okay.
that they have him there to ask.
Oh, you mean in the waiting room? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's there. So they should be going, "Hey, what's your real name?"
Well,
And
if
they
it's
do-
Swiss
and they
cheese-
do
if
say
it's
it
Swiss
later
cheese
on, though.
brain, you know, the in the waiting room, the guys also have the Swiss cheese brain as well, so they don't always remember. everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It does.
But this right kind of in this area when they have like the one lady that's like the weird lounge lady that's coming on when it comes to him or her, I thought she was much more appealing, but maybe I'm just not about that nightclub lounge lizard life.
No, I totally get it. I thought she was going to be like the main or the co-protagonist.
Oh,
in this
you're
episode.
saying that the original lady that talked to him, you liked her better than the other lady that talked to him?
No, I liked her less.
Oh, I'm the
Oh,
opposite.
Like
I'm the opposite.
I must be a sleazy.
I'm a sleazy guy too, bro. I'm also sleazy. I
like
thought that the original.
when I saw her, like I was like, oh my goodness, I really hope we don't have to go through a whole episode with this lady. And then when the other lady came in, I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
No,
And so I'm hearing like Ro talking
with
about it, and I'm like,
Ro.
no, I was the opposite.
I'm with Ro. I was thinking, oh, finally Sam's
Right, Sam's
you
going to
know,
get some
they-
action here.
right, exactly. They brought him some interesting lady here, and then she's just like disappears after a second, quite literally in a second.
But you know what? I mean, whatever we think about her, I think for me, her performance in such a short time was pretty impactful, and more so than the klutz lady throughout the entire episode. I could care less, bro. I wanted to see more of the
Non-klutz lady,
the slinky lady,
the naughty, potentially naughty lady.
right? I wanted to see more of her interact with Sam because we know Sam is very pure and et cetera, et cetera. But I wanted to see a little more interaction between those two characters instead of what we got. And I said, I think her performance was great in the short amount of time.
Tex Roger says, Linkley lady versus klutzy lady.
Yeah.
I guess that's
Well, and when they started out, we didn't realize how klutzy she was.
Right.
And I liked the premise, and I kind of went back and forth in my head about whether her current fiance was smart or dumb. Because at first I was like, man, that was a very dumb decision to go send her back to her old love and right on the cusp of getting married. But the more I thought about it, a lot of people, they rush into marriage and then they don't have this resolve, and then they're living with somebody that's stuck in the what if I had done this. And so if she wasn't going to leave him, maybe then he would be dodging a bullet. But then of course, we're going to get to the plot twist later.
right. So at this point, he's sitting there and she's talking to him. Is this the part where? Remind me again. I don't know why I'm blanking so much today. What do they talk about here?
Sam's trying to figure out their relationship, and
Right.
she's talking about how they kind of had an act, and that it was her fault that he ran away for 3 years.
Right. And at this point, this guy that we just saw at the bar, he's like, "Oh, I want to take that lady back home,
The slinky lady.
the slinky lady,
To a hotel, actually.
to a hotel." And Sam's like, "Yeah, sure." And he gives him his car. And then she tells him, "Hey, this is a part that I actually like." So she's like, "Hey, you never give your car to anybody, from what I remember," or something like that. And
Mhm.
then
It's been a
Al's
long
like,
time.
"Well, we found out your name is like Chuck. I don't know what he says. I don't remember his name now." And then he's like, "And you die exactly." And then, like, as he's talking, the car blows up.
Yeah.
Now,
that was-
this is something. This moment here in this show has never happened before. and that's what I wanted to bring it up. That's why I was thinking of both Euro and Script, that, and maybe even Nick, because what happened here is that because of Sam's arrival and because he gave him the keys to the car, Sam may have spared his own life, but there's two other people that just died,
Oh yeah.
and it seems like nobody even pays attention to it. Like it's as if nothing happened. Nobody even dwells on it. He never
Well, they
says.
don't
I didn't like that.
He never says, "Hey, what's happening here, Al? I mean, I came here and people just died because of me," which I think would be on brand for Sam. If we saw when we saw the Vietnam episode, the fact that reporter died and got the Pulitzer, that really weighed on him. And in this case, two people just exploded because of him.
Well, you're missing a vital piece of context. They don't have any respites really until they get to the diner to reflect on that. And whereas in the Vietnam one, they have days between excursions. And then there's the after part, right, where they're at the bar, where he's able to actually stop and reflect on that type of stuff. Here, as soon as they see this happening, what happens next? They get shot at, and Sam gets shot in the leg. So he doesn't really have time to ask Al, holy crap, what happened here? And then the other part, too, is the fact that by the time they find out that the real name that Sam's in is that Joey DiNardo guy, that's when the bomb blows up. So they didn't even have enough time to get the data to even say, oh, crap, this is what happens and this is how he dies.
Right.
Because they couldn't figure that out yet because they didn't have the real name to verify with their history.
But later they have time to sing Footloose.
Exactly. They instead of I would argue instead of the piano playing in the diner, that's where they could have had the whole, that bartender, that woman.
They did have a point when she had a problem with it. And she was talking, those two people died. And I think she even mentioned it twice throughout the episode. But Sam doesn't, but even if it's not Sam's reaction, the kind of working premise we've had throughout the show is the idea that there's a higher power working on it. And so even when sometimes people die in the episode, they're usually bad people that die because of results. So it's always in the end a net positive, and it wasn't in this episode.
Right. In this case, I don't think that those two people, even though you could say they were kind of naughty or sleazy or whatever they were, I don't think that they deserve to blow up in a car. The only thing I told myself here, and if this is true, it wasn't well explained in the episode. It's more my headcanon that maybe in the original timeline, Sam was going to give them a lift to wherever it is that they wanted, and then they all got in the car and exploded. But in this case, because he gave them the keys, only they exploded. If I was writing this episode, I would have done that. I would have said, like Al would have said, Sam, initially you were all three supposed to die, and now only they died. And then it would have been fine. At least, that would have been an explanation of sorts. Script.
Sure. Could have worked, yeah. I mean... Yeah.
I feel like they didn't pay enough attention here, which is one of the only cases until now. We sometimes we like stuff and sometimes we don't, and sometimes we criticize this and that. I feel like until now, out of all the episodes we've seen, this is actually one of the bigger, I don't know, want to say blunder or fumble or something like that, but this is actually something that they kind of fell asleep at the wheel, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so that was just my thoughts on that, and it's the first time really I've seen that in an episode. Any case, putting all of that aside, at least immediately he's here, somebody shoots him, and then she goes and she gets the car, and they manage to get away. And this is
I love the different ways in which the directors kind of think of the let's float through Al gag. And this is a perfect example. It's they're always so inventive.
I agree.
Yeah,
I like that. I it's always good to see a car like drive into him. And then because I feel like we've seen it before somewhere, maybe in the Driving Miss Daisy episode or something. Yeah. In any case, I could be wrong. I don't remember which one it was, but so here they managed to get away. And then they don't manage to get the guy, though, right? He continues to follow them. And then he's like, oh, the bullet went in and out. And she's like, what, you're a doctor now? And
Oh yeah,
then,
he describes the name of the muscle or whatever.
right. And then at this point, they're talking about the relationship, and this is kind of funny because he's always still trying to collect information. He's like, well, after you witness a murder, and he's like, oh yes, like I witnessed a murder.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he's
Nick
trying to
is
figure out
following
what
or
that means.
something. Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are good moments. I always like that on the show when like people around him are saying things that are very important and very serious. He has no idea what they're talking about. It almost always is good. Almost always it works.
These scenes are great too because I would love to sit in on the rehearsals because they're interacting with each other, but not really with each other. Like,
Mhm.
it's Sam interacting with everybody, but the timing has to be perfect in order for it to make sense.
Right. These are well acted scenes. I really, and when it comes to the on screen, chemistry, whatever you want to call it, between Scott and Dean Stockwell, they're just so good in these scenes together. They're just that's one of the secret ingredients of this show is how good they are on screen together.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons their Enterprise episode pissed me off because it seemed like they didn't know each other. And obviously they played different characters, but I think somebody at in the Star Trek camp should have taken advantage of the fact that they were in this show and then maybe written around the fact that we can get these two together and interact instead of what we got. But that's another show.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I feel like it was somewhat of a missed opportunity. I wanted to see more if they already have these two actors on screen. They
Yeah.
did something, it was all right. And they're good actors. They did what was asked of them, but maybe they could have been given a different story. And like you said, maybe it's something like he meets an old commander that actually had a good rapport with.
Oh,
You-
I would
you-
have preferred Dean Stockwell playing the Doctor as opposed to. I thought Dr. Phlox was fine, but I would have rather seen Dean Stockwell play the Doctor.
That would have been amazing.
That
Yeah.
would have been amazing. But let's just say that they didn't. I didn't mind Flux. Let's just say that we're not looking at a permanent role, just a guest
Mhm.
appearance. I would have done something where it's a guy that shows up that actually has a better rapport with Archer. Something that's not like there are two people like Rose said that don't know each other and they're just kind of suspicious of each other.
Mhm.
It's not the kind of vibe you want to see from these two guys. But
Right.
Well, I understand that for like the fans of Quantum Leap, but I can also see from the perspective of Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell, these two guys being able to play at odds with each other could be a fun
Yeah.
thing for them.
Yeah, totally.
it's possible. In any case, this bad guy. He's driving after them and he's making the face of a bad man.
Yeah, right.
Determined to kill.
This is the bad man face. So he's driving around and then
They hide their car in the ditch, and then a couple of truck drivers give them some gas, and then they buy them breakfast. And it's like that's a nice thing to do.
right. And then they arrive at this place, they're eating breakfast, they go to the piano.
I felt the truck driver thing seemed out of place because first, Al gives them the message that, hey, this is where you die. And then it's like, we're all thinking, how are they going to get out of this? And then it jumps like that was probably the commercial break. It's like now they're in a diner and you're like, how did that happen? Oh, these truckers gave us a ride. And it's like, that kind of came out of left field. Like they were setting it up like, this is where you're going to die. And you're thinking they're going to be running out into the wilderness or something to hide. And then they're in a diner in the next scene.
Well, no, because they parked the car in the ditch, and then the car that was chasing them drove past them because they didn't see them. And then they were like stuck. What are we going to do? And then we transition to the morning where these two gentlemen on screen we find out that they filled up their car with gas, and then they're paying them back with breakfast this morning.
It just to me though, it felt like a weird jump, because we didn't see that, and it's TV, you got 45 minutes, it's time, but it just kind of felt like they made it feel real dire, and then it was just okay.
Stranded. Yeah.
Well, in any case, they're here at the bar, and they indeed, like Rose said, they sing, and then they sing "Footloose." And I feel like this is a few songs too many. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he sings well, Scott Bakula, but we saw it at the beginning that he sang the song. Now he's singing it again, and then if that wasn't enough, they go into "Footloose." not really necessary. It feels like just they were trying to do some filler thing here at this point. And I don't know if this was maybe a rushed episode. Maybe they did it in a rushed way, and they just figured it's a good way to fill some time. But I don't know that I needed them to sing as much as they did. I agree with Ro on that point. And I love singing and music. It's not that I don't like it, but when you feel like people are
I
just
think they were also trying to show that they had the range because they were talking about what their dream was, and a lot of it was about them rekindling the relationship, showing how good they were together. And
you know what
she's falling in love with him again.
You know what I would have done if they maybe would have, either there was somebody else at this place playing Footloose, or I don't know what. I didn't need two songs. You could do something that they're both humming. Maybe they can hum in the car. I don't even know. Think of something where they show that they like to sing together for a minute, and I think that would have been fine. This was a step, I think, too far. It doesn't ruin the episode, but I actually, what Ro was saying, I thought about it while watching it too, and that's coming from a person I love music and singing and all that stuff, but this is a show with a plot and a story. In any case, at least if nothing else, he knows how to sing, and he did it pretty well. And then at this point, she comes up and she's like, "Wow, you're such a good couple. You should have your own act where you sing together." And then the lady, her hears it and she storms out. And she's like, "Did I say something wrong?" And then he's like, "Well, we used to have an act together. Well, you should put that act back together, boy." And then he walks out. And then remind me here, he's like, what are they talking about? Feelings and stuff. What's the script? What are they saying?
This one is about, I think, regrets on their life, what has been, and that they're waiting for the sheriff, and she's talking about being a klutz, and then she basically says, "I got to go call my fiance to let him know that we're okay." That's basically the rough of it.
Yeah, something like that. So then
she's blaming herself for everything that's happened. And somehow,
right.
She's like, "Those people died because of me, because I'm the jinx. I'm the
jinx,
the one
right?
that, and this has happened to you because of me." So she's putting that onto her, and then that relates to her conversation with him. And he's the one that says, "Well, you've never been a jinx for me."
And then he's talking about like when she broke his legs by accident on the ski slope.
Right. And then at this point, he's
By the way, I used to have this mobile phone. It was the best thing. I took a trip with my, I think, first year of college with my girlfriend at the time, and we there was no cell phone, so we rented this cell phone. I made one phone call when we went out to Minnesota. It was like the coolest thing to be able to phone somebody in the car while you're driving.
Oh yeah, I had a situation like this. I also had those those early Motorola phones that are not the brick, but the one that came maybe one generation afterwards, that it kind of looked like this but without the cord, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Qualcomms.
Like those big ass, they were big ass phones, but it wasn't the brick. It was something like this without the cord. I don't really know how to, and you could fold it a bit.
Yeah.
Those were the best. You know what? I love those phones. And until today, StarTAC, if anybody knows what that is, Motorola StarTAC, that was a spectacular phone. I don't know that until today, with all the phones that they've made, there's one that I feel more happy like flipping open and talking. StarTAC was really, something special.
What open door did I create? What
And there was
funny.
another one.
I had the flip phone, like the newest Motorola flip phone from 1997 to 99. I think that was a good one too, because it was super thin.
I think that one was the StarTAC.
Yeah, could be.
That was the model of Motorola. It's exactly the flip phone that you're. That was
one of my favorite ones.
Really something special. And then there was
I also had the Nextel. Remember the Nextel?
I don't remember that one, but I know there was
cell
something.
Phone with a two-way radio. Doot-doot.
Oh, I didn't have that.
I used that for production.
I had I'll just say this.
It's all the radio.
There's one, and this I'll stop talking after about it, but there was one, I don't know if it was called the Bullet phone that Motorola had after StarTech. It was like you could get it in this very silver kind of, it was silver and it was small, you could flip it. And the reason I liked it is that it fit in the palm of my hand and I could flip it with my thumb. It was so fun. And then if you get upset, you can actually kind of like hang up on somebody, which you can't really do anymore.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. He's talking on the phone. He's like, yeah, that guy's only looking out for himself. You should come back. Yeah, why do you even go there? Naming you. And then she's like, no, I have to do this. And then he goes, Sam, you're going to get killed in 2 seconds.
Al had some great outfits in this one. I'll give him that.
Anyhow, thank you, Chad, for putting up with my impressions. Some I assume are better than others. In any case, it turns out that again, no matter what they do, their fate is the same all the time. They're in trouble all the time. And then, look, we got to get out of here quickly. And then, you got to trust me on this. I'm telling you. And then I guess they leave. And they're here driving. And of course, I think another time, and there's another henchman here, right?
No, it's the
Somebody
same
shoots
guy,
him.
but they just get the flat tire and there's no spare. And
Is it flat because he shot their tire? Or is it just a flat regardless?
it's just a flat.
Oh,
Part of
okay.
like the bad luck that falls around Lorraine.
Oh, right.
And then they
Yeah.
do something silly where they take the tire off and basically risk wrecking the rim, driving it to the gas station.
Yeah, that
that's-
is kind of weird.
That's
And
a
then,
plot hole.
Is this the thing that he's like, I'm going to need a few minutes to fix that thing or whatever it is? Like he needs some time or some nonsense like that?
Yeah, like he said, he can patch it up, but it'd take a while, or he can buy a new tire for $80 in $1985, which is pretty expensive.
And did he have the $80?
I guess so.
So in any case, she's talking to the guy again and updating him. I'm surprised at this point that Sam didn't already realize there's something wrong with the fact that she keeps updating the guy and then they arrive, but it is what it is.
Oh, I love this jacket. If Sean were here, he'd love it too.
Yeah. Sean's sick today, so I hope he gets better. Yeah, this is a great outfit. And then at this point, does she take his car and run away?
No, he tells her that she's got to go because he
Right.
doesn't want her to die. And then Al convinces him to do it. He does it. And then Ziggy tells him, oh, yeah, she's now going to die.
Right.
He's still
Sorry,
gonna
I watched this a few weeks ago and I thought I would know enough, but it's now starting to come back to me. Okay, so this guy, now is driving after her, and now Sam obviously has to think of a way to get to her. So I guess he takes this crappy car, goes over, drives after her, and then
Well, I mean, then he's basically, they don't know where they know where her body's found, but they don't know which, there's a fork in the road. They don't know which one she took to get there.
right.
Because they don't realize that she was, it's technically, I guess, murdered on a plane, and then her body was thrown out of the plane and landed where it was found.
I guess so. So now we're here. Okay, let me make. Hold on, I didn't share it, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh, second file.
What happened to Nick?
He must
Oh,
have had to have
he's-
gone.
Okay.
We're on the job, right? So maybe he
Yeah.
had to pop out.
Yeah.
All right. If you see him in the chat, tell me.
Sure. Absolutely.
Like if he pops back, but I understand. Oh, I think he's back. Hold on.
Here we go.
Nick is back.
Hey, sorry about that. It dropped me out.
It's okay. Now, is it bigger row?
It has been embiggened.
Okay. So now they're playing chicken with the cars, and
This was pretty intense scene, as folks in the chat are coming to terms with the intensity of this scene here. This is where they blew their budget.
Blowing
yeah,
up a
maybe
truck is expensive and difficult to do.
that scene actually looked pretty good too.
Yeah.
I actually maybe the highlight of the episode, at least technically.
Mm-hmm.
That and Al being next in front of the car.
Yeah. And you know what's kind of funny is that even in the 1980s, cars were actually quite well built, that it took a lot to do a pyro effect like that. Because you have to like gut the car and then replace it with pyrotechnics, dynamite, explosives. And then you got to trigger it and hope that you get what you want. Because again, cars for safety reasons are designed not to explode. Especially with an internal combustion engine.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
takes a lot of effort. You have to appreciate the guys that pull that stuff off.
And then
I'm a little behind here because I wasn't able to talk earlier, but the whole Al and Sam, trying to get rid of her, like the whole time, even before they did it, I'm like, but it's the car the guy's pursuing.
Yeah.
It's a bit irresponsible. It's a bit irresponsible. It's
I think
almost
the
like
plan was that
they wanted to
Sam was
have
gonna
that
take the
shape.
car, but that did not work out.
Now,
It's almost like they wanted to have that cool scene with the truck, but they
Yeah.
they
Right.
bent the screenplay to accommodate for it.
but I also like the conversation that they're having where Al keeps suggesting, ask her about Greg or Mike or
Oh, the other
It's
boyfriend
like all these-
died.
that was so funny. It was like, well, that wasn't my fault. How was I gonna know he was gonna get a fly ball in the head? And it's like,
No, he tried to catch a fly ball and fell off the second balcony.
oh yeah,
And then
that's
the other
right.
one wasn't paying attention to his focus through the camera lens and fell into an alligator pit. And I'm like, that is ridiculous.
It's like, and then we're cutting to this scene, and it's gonna come into play, but you see that engine hanging there, and I'm like,
There it
this
is.
is not good. This is like, I caught that right off the bat, but did you assume that he was bad right off the bat because he was supposed to be meeting her there already?
Yeah, I did it. I assumed from the second time that she calls him, and then all of a sudden Al comes in and says, yeah, the sheriff's not going to make it in time. You guys are going to get killed. It's like, well, the only thing that changed is their location and who was talking to. The only other person that knows that they're there that's not the sheriff is the fiance. So clearly he's in on it.
Okay, see, I didn't pick up on. I didn't think it was like that Al was on board and then he switched it after that. I just kind of figured, well, Al's there to warn him that they just figured that part out. So I thought we were going to get a battle of, is she going to leave him for him type thing there at the end. And then when it switched after a couple of seconds, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going even more interesting of a twist.
Oh, we have a special guest. Marlo Sharondoff says "Somewhere in the Night" is my favorite song. Marlo watches this channel, but she only rarely participates in the discussion. But we I don't know if you guys remember, we've talked to her a few times, and it's nice to see you here, Marlo.
Yeah.
And yes, "Somewhere in the Night," she said it's his favorite song. I think that Scott Bakula does a good job with that song. He's done a number of good ones. At some point once I heard like a soundtrack for the whole series where you had different songs that Scott was singing, and it was pretty cool back in the day. So yeah, and I believe that song was amongst the songs that were on that album. But thanks for joining us. In any case, back to this episode. So at this point, they're doing the chase. Like we said, Sam manages to get the better of him, and he gets blown up by this truck. Sam just like manages to pull out of it, and then
I think we needed one more bad guy face as the bad guy realized he was going to slam into the truck.
Well, he did make he did make a bad guy here as he was holding the gun, but yeah, maybe like a surprised bad guy face right
Oh,
before.
there it is. Yeah,
A little bit, I
a
guess.
little bit.
But it was a quick cut. I think they could have. There's smoke here, so you don't really. I think
Mhm.
that they could have made it more convincing. It was really a brief one, but I think that at this point Al's like, Sam, she sells knives, and then he's like, well, what do you mean? But we got rid of the guy, and then I guess this is where they put everything together. So they go to this place with the planes, and then finally, what were you saying, Nick? That when you saw that there was an engine, you knew what was up.
Yeah, the moment I saw that hanging there and they were talking
Yeah.
about her being a klutz, I'm like, that's going to come into play.
Yeah,
That's like a Bugs Bunny situation, like a Road Runner.
that's called
Uh,
foreshadowing.
Totally, quite a foreshadow. So at this point, Al and Sam arrive, and then if there's something in their dialogue, remind me. I don't remember the exact details. If there
I don't
anybody
remember.
remembers.
No.
So then, and then I think at this point, Sam shows up and he knows that he's the bad guy, and then he kind of changes from being like a more swell guy to being like a jerk.
We all should have known his jacket said misfit.
So at the end, he's the bad guy all along, and he's been playing them. And then at this point, he grabs her, and Sam has to make a difficult choice. And then he puts it down because he's a good guy. He cares about her. And then
She kills him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she plan on killing him or?
She did not plan on killing him. She grabbed that chain to regain balance.
Right. So then it's like the other boyfriends, and he died. And then he's laying here under the thing.
She
the
even
sheriff.
says "poor" in his name because she's warning him afterwards.
Mm.
And then she's talking to the sheriff and pulling out the body and all that good stuff. And then now they're finally like, oh, it's so good. And then they
Well, they decide to get married, go to was it Tiki Island or something of that nature?
we can go to the Tiki Islands and get married. Ooh. And then
They rebuild their act. Yeah.
Right. And
then
oh, I remember this one. This one.
yeah, this is going to be Nick's favorite.
I feel like Nick's going to disappear next week. In any case, this is the one where he arrives and he's like the king of the brothel or whatever it is. It kind of is reminiscent of that Burt Reynolds movie, The Last Whorehouse in Texas or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Gives it like a
A
feeling.
little bit of that, but next week's
little bit.
episode's got a really strong moral thing because he's of what he has to do, and it's
Right. Yeah. No, that one's an interesting one. So it's a good episode.
yeah,
And
it
then
really is.
so that's the end of that one. I guess let's just go around and share some thoughts on it. Script, how did you feel about this episode?
I mean, I think it was a fine episode. There was a little bit of excessive musical numbers to it, but it was different because we got a character in Lorraine that is essentially a bad luck charm, and we're seeing Sam kind of wing it step by step. I like the mystery aspect to it, and I mean the performances were pretty strong. It maybe needed another draft, but it was I was entertained and enjoyed this episode.
All right. Well, we're gonna get a different opinion, I think. What
Can
did you think of it?
Next, just because I gotta settle up.
Oh,
here with my
okay.
customer
So
for a sec.
Nick, your turn. What did you think about this episode?
Okay. I enjoyed this episode quite a bit. It was goofy and it was silly, and there were like some plot contrivances that maybe I didn't necessarily agree with, but it was fun. And so I kind of give it a pass on a lot of those things, other than the fact of the two people dying in the car. That bothered me. Everything else, I was okay with. Like It may have been a little bit quirky, a little bit funny, but I enjoyed it overall. So I had a good time watching the episode, but that one thing did bother me. And I'm going to do my best to be here next week, no matter what.
Okay, cool. Also, next week, even though it's an episode of that subject matter, I think actually his dilemma being leaping into somebody like that is interesting. And
It
it's
is.
not like it's a naughty movie, you know, so
Quite
I
the
think-
opposite, actually, for that episode.
right. I mean,
Well-
he's actually unhappy that he's there and he's trying to fix it. Like, he doesn't like doing that.
I felt bad because I missed the one where it was where he was the Chippendale stripper, and one of the people know that it was work. It was not because of the subject matter.
I understand. All right. Well, that's a fair opinion, and thank you. Even amidst your work, we're really happy that you were able to join
Yep.
us. So if you have
I've
to
got
pop out,
this. I got this Toyota Sienna ignition all fixed up, and I got to go get with this customer, and then I'll be done for the day. So,
Very nice.
thank you guys. Sorry I wasn't here in full, but
no,
had to-
yeah,
had chime in.
You were here with us. You chimed in, and we appreciate always, as always, we appreciate it. If you can check out Nick, he has a Backyard Tardis on YouTube. He has Adventures in Locksmithing on YouTube, and if you get a chance, you should check out his channels. We'll see you next week.
All right, will do. You guys
All
have
right,
a good
man.
evening.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Mhm.
And then, Ro, what did you think?
I would classify this at the bottom fifth of my ratings of all the episodes so far. Wasn't my favorite. It was just there. It existed, as they say, as the kids are saying. There are some things that I did like. Like I said, I thought it was going to be another mushy, love story, wrong time, wrong place sort of thing until that car blew up. I didn't really make the connection of the two innocent people, dying during the car explosion. So it didn't occur to me, but I think that's a great point that everybody made. But other than that, I mean, I think I didn't enjoy this story too much. It was a little on the boring side to me. I do like the aspect that kind of the story kind of changed in the middle after the car explosion. There was a little bit of a mystery. I absolutely did not catch that the boyfriend was actually the bad guy at the end. I thought that was kind of cool. But overall, for me, it was a little subpar for various reasons. But again, even the most subpar episodes of this show are still kind of entertaining, so I'll give it that.
I tend to agree, and I think that for me, my rating would be that it's kind of an average episode. It wouldn't rank amongst my top episodes, but it would also not rank the bottom ones. The thing with the two people that exploded with no explanation and nobody addressing it bothered me. I think it bothered me years ago when I saw it, and even now when I rewatch it, I already remembered that it bothered me, and then it bothered me. The twist with the boyfriend I thought was fine. I think that when I watched it the first time, I didn't pick up on it that it was him. I would have thought that maybe there's a bad guy that sent him. Maybe he was like corrupt and he was kind of working two angles at the same time or something like that. That's probably what I thought to myself while watching it, maybe at some point. But I guess I didn't figure that he would be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some twists. I like that there was that chase, a bit of action with the bad guy with his faces and the blowing up of the car. There were some interesting things here. But yeah, I would say average. A really mid-table episode.
I'd say it's like slightly above mid, but yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean,
Like
it has
mid-table,
a
I
lot of
mean, like,
enjoyable points to it, but yeah, it's not the best of the bunch for sure.
right. I'm saying like if there's like 95 episodes in the series and then like you're doing a list of all the 95, it would be somewhere in the 40s. I wouldn't think that
Yeah.
that would be outrageous.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
It would be number 12 for me.
Number 12
wait till we get
below.
to season 5.
Yikes.
But
I'm just yanking your chain there.
there's going to be some things that may be controversial in season 4 and 5, but it'll be interesting to watch them regardless. Certainly, it's a show that I do think that throughout all of its seasons, it does take a lot of swings, and it does try a lot of different things, and some things work better than others. But I think that the next episode is actually a pretty good one. And again, if you're watching this stream and you came from maybe another stream and you're checking it out or you saw it, through Twitter or anything like that, make sure to like and sub, and also check out the channel's Script Doctor. The Script Doctor, he has his YouTube channel. Check out the Sacrif Podcast. Ro has his own YouTube also. It's Sacrif Podcast, right?
Correct.
Because there was something I always get confused because it was like Sacrif Scuttlebutt Podcast, or did you drop the Scuttlebutt, or is it?
Well, technically on paper, it's Sacrif Podcast. But if you tell your Amazon Dot or your other smart speaker to play the latest Sacrif Scuttlebutt podcast, it'll know.
Okay, great. So you should definitely, if people that came here and maybe are getting to know Script and Ro and me or anybody, definitely make sure to pay attention to what they're doing. In addition, also we had a lot of great people in the chat. I just want to acknowledge some of them here because there were, a lot of good ones. Tex Rogers, as usual, always great to see you here. Rob Nutskubla, also a guy I see a lot here. Ron Donofero, of course, and Mur Rockstra. I hope I didn't miss any big comments from them or something. If there was anything you wanted to ask us, we're here. Kit Kat, nice to see you again. I think I said Mur Rockstra. Were there any interesting questions or anything?
Just everybody saying hello.
Super Mario Brothers 3, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then Cancel Pig. Here's a quick hello. Can't stick around. Well, Cancel Pig, we're happy that you graced us with your presence, however brief it was. It's Melvin Deeply, that big as me. Melvin's a good guy. Melvin's a friend of mine. I didn't realize that the Cancel Pig was his account. It's nice that he graced us with his presence and from 2 different accounts. That's always a positive thing to do. But I like Melvin. Melvin's a good guy. What'd you say?
Lucky us.
Lucky us. And Melvin's a good guy. Usually checks out our streams, and he's always very kind of supportive. Really appreciate that. Continuing to scroll here. Love that we have such a great chat and such a good conversation. Even people talk amongst themselves here, which hopefully it's kind of like a social gathering at this point. Matthew Marcillo, nice to see you here as well. And trying to see Urkel De Stefano, Sing Me a Song Near the Piano Man. Marla Sharondoff, as I said before. And then trying to see Matthew McGee. Yeah, I already said Matthew Marcel. So 2 Matthews showed up late in the game. Zach Updegraff. It's good to have you here. And I think we did it. So somebody here said Lauren is a friend of my sister, Tara Strong.
Oh, cool.
I don't know what Lauren she was talking about. Lauren? I wonder who the Lauren was.
Was there? I don't see a Lauren up there. I'm looking.
Is that in the Rumble chat or?
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, Marla said Lauren Tom. I don't know who Lauren Tom is, but that's good to know. Maybe somebody mentioned somebody called Lauren here, but I don't really know. Oh, okay. Was there an actress in this episode called Lauren Script?
There's a character named Lorraine.
There's an actress called Lauren Tom.
Lauren Tom. Let me pull up.
She's in Southern Comfort.
Ah, she's in Southern Comfort. Okay. I understand now. So basically, Marlo was saying that next week there's going to be Southern Comfort, And in it is the actress Lauren Tom. She stars in the episode, and she's friends with Tara Strong, who is Marla's sister.
Oh, cool. I met Tara Strong when I was a kid. Worked on Senior Trip. I was one of the extras at the Washington exhibit.
And then Starro says Lauren Tom was also Julie in Friends. That's good to know. So yeah, that was a nice kind of thing. Then a lot of
Yeah.
different things tied together here.
Yeah, she plays Amy Wong and a bunch of other voices on Futurama.
Ah. And then I see that Nick said, "We miss you, Sean. We miss you." I don't know if Sean left a comment here. I know that Sean was under the weather. So, of course, I'm hoping that he has a quick recovery. And then Marla says, Senior Trip was partly filmed here in Toronto.
Yep, that's where I was.
Yep, and Script, as a Canadian, knows that very well. And Super Mario Brothers 3 says, Lauren Tom, born on the date of next week episode, August 4th, 1961. That is an interesting bit of trivia. Even Tex Rogers was impressed by it.
Wow.
Tex is a hard man to impress. And Ron Donofero, just before we go, said he loved X-Files up until Doggett. You know, I think the problem with X-Files, and then I think we should kind of wrap up, is that once David Duchovny wasn't really interested in being there, and he just said, I'll come here for 7 episodes out of 21 a season, it's not serious because you know he's around, but he's not appearing, and they keep dancing around it. And Gillian Anderson herself was pregnant. She came back. She left. She came back. There was just... It started becoming less focused. And the final thing I'll say about X-Files is, for the first few seasons, they sometimes had a Monster of the Week. Sometimes they had that ongoing mystery about Mulder and his childhood and his mother and all that stuff. And, you know, they'd have these kind of arcs and they had episodic things. But over time, instead of answering the questions of the big arcs, they just used to keep teasing you with another question and another question, another question. And I feel like until this day, they haven't answered those questions. So even with all the revivals that they would do later, I feel like they never really properly addressed everything. And it's unfortunate because the show in its early days was really, really good. Script agrees with me 100%.
Oh no, I enjoyed the X-Files. Yeah, I actually oddly enough, I liked their spin-off, The Lone Gunman.
That was interesting, but that was very short-lived, I think.
Oh, it was really short-lived. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. It's a show with 3 very, very, very unpleasant deaths. I don't know if you're referring to the X-Files or something else. Anyhow, it was nice chatting about all of this. I finally watched the first year of X-Files last year, and I need to get back to it. That was from Nick. Rhonda Fair was saying that jumped the shark. It did actually. It was too much. And I feel like those revivals didn't do in the movies. Sometimes you got to take a show and do like maybe 5 seasons, make them really good, do a beginning, a middle, and an ending, and let everybody just go and have this thing to hold on to and cherish as some kind of piece of art. And I don't feel like they did that with the X-Files. But just as an anecdote, one of the reasons that Breaking Bad ended after 5 seasons was because of the X-Files, because Vince Gilligan was actually on the production of the X-Files, working under Chris Carter, and he kind of rose through the ranks. In the final few seasons, he was basically in charge, you know, at least of the writing, or I don't know what, he was a supervising producer or whatever he was. And he said in an interview I remember reading years ago that because he was really proud of the work he did on the show, but at that point nobody was watching the show anymore because it had outstayed its welcome. So he was saying that when he made Breaking Bad, he didn't want to be the guy that continues a show that outstays its welcome. And he learned the lesson from the X-Files, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Caleb Levine is here. And also, final thing, Marla says, Tara was in the animated series Extreme Ghostbusters as the voice of Kylie. That is
Yeah,
good
she
to know.
succeeded Arlene Sorkin as the voice of Harley Quinn. She did Teen Titans. Tara has done tons of voice acting. It's mostly what she does these days, and promote extreme veganism.
Well, hold on one second. According to Nerdrotic, the episodes of X-Files were taken from coast to coast. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
But Backyard Tardis says Tara is an amazing voice actor, and I agree. What I was going to say was, and then we can just wrap it up, that thanks to that show, he decided to make Breaking Bad not outstay its welcome. Not only that, because of the X-Files, you have Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad, because there was an episode, one of the first ones that I think Vince Gilligan wrote and directed, or maybe he just wrote it or wrote and directed. I think it was wrote and directed, and they needed an actor to play a guy who was sort of an istinophobe, but also he seems like a likable guy, but he's also can be scary and mean, all in one person, but sympathetic. And he couldn't find an actor, and they kept testing and testing and testing. At the time, Bryan Cranston hadn't yet been on Malcolm in the Middle, and then they kept auditioning people, and then he saw Bryan Cranston. He's like, this is it. This is the only guy that can do this role. And they decided on him for that episode, and he remembered him, and he said, I really like this guy, really want to work with him again sometime. And the next thing he knows, he's on Malcolm in the Middle, which really surprised him, because he's like, how did he end up in Malcolm in the Middle? And then years later, when he was doing Breaking Bad, he's like, got to get that guy again. And when he went to the network and said, this guy is going to be amazing for this series, or like the guy from Malcolm in the Middle. And I think he then took his episode from the X-Files. He's like, no, this guy. And then I think they somehow allowed it, even though they weren't excited.
Yeah, well, Bryan Cranston was known for doing comedy stuff earlier on, because he was featured on Seinfeld, and he also voiced some monsters on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So that's why he ended up coming back to the movie franchise.
The movie, okay. Coast to Coast is code for Art Bell Supernatural Radio Talk Show. Okay, not sure what it all means. Matthew Marcel, Bryan Cranston was hoot as hell. Father, yes, it was. And I didn't know he did the Power Rangers before I remembered he was in the movie. But in any case, it's fine. It's nice to have that tidbit with X-Files and with Vince Gilligan. But we've wrapped up the show. It was such a pleasure hanging out with you all. Hope I mentioned Kit Kat. I think, remember my ABC soap Loving. I didn't even know he wasn't in a soap opera. It's interesting how you can have such a career just trying to get gigs and stuff, and at the end, it's just the right gig. And Bryan Cranston, I mean, maybe he sometimes can be annoying on a personal level, but he is a good actor.
Yeah.
Who I once met and annoyed.
Nice.
So it's just payback then. Okay.
But yeah, no, I did I ever tell you why I annoyed him? I don't remember if I told you or not. I probably shouldn't say it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we might want to hold off on that one tonight.
All right. In any case, no, I won't say it, but I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you all for hanging. Oh, Lisa Katryan showed up.
Oh,
I'll watch the recording later. You know what? I do feel good that you at least showed up here at the end.
We were worried about you. I said it earlier. I said, I hope Lisa's okay. We haven't seen her in a while.
And then Joey double feature. Not sure what that means. And everybody's happy to see Lisa. So it's nice that she kind of came before the end of the show. She'll have to rewind and watch it, probably along with Joshua Calkins and a few other people. Thank you all for being here. And of course, Southern Comfort next time. So we'll see you all next week. Our outro. It's as if every time I have to remember that we have an outro. And again, make sure to subscribe to the Script Doctor and Sacrif Podcast on YouTube. And now I have to play the outro. I'm such an awesome guy. I make so